Good afternoon. One of the best decisions I made as a pastor was a decision I made in my first couple of weeks when I was just beginning. I noticed how easy it would be for me to be the kind of pastor that people think pastors should be like. I could fit the mold, I could match the expectations. I also noticed pretty quickly that if I followed this impulse, I would not be being me. I would be playing a role. I'm grateful that even though I was still wet behind the ears, I realized how unhealthy this kind of life could be. For you see, if you put a mask on long enough, you forget who you are underneath it. So I decided to be me instead of acting the way I thought I was supposed to be. I can't say I've always been perfect at doing this, but overall, this has been my goal in my ministry and in my life. I'm even more grateful that I ended up in a congregation that lives pretty much this same way. I enjoy getting reminders every now and then that our congregation is who we say we are, again, for the most part. And I'm seeing this once again as those who are preparing to join our church are turning in their statements of faith, which is one of our requirements for people who become members of our church. We here at Old Union Presbyterian Church say that we are the church that encourages and builds people up. But one of our new members knew that this was the kind of church we were even before she heard that we described ourselves that way. In her statement, she wrote that her first time at the church, she felt as though someone was giving her a big hug. I don't know about you, but that sounds kind of like what encouragement and being built up would feel like. And another one of our new members commented on her immediate impression in our church that our members are sincere. We don't just say what we're supposed to. We don't put on a mask and pretend to be something different. This person recognized that we really are who we say we are. And as I said, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for a number of reasons. First of all, as I've already said, pretending to be someone that you're not can be very unhealthy. The conflict between your mask and your real identity can do terrible things to your psyche. I'm grateful, secondly, because people can spot a con artist miles away. And according to the pundits, the younger generations of Americans have highly tuned BS meters. They can overlook all sorts of flaws that someone may have, but not when they see you're trying to sell them a bill of goods. Perhaps this is a reason why our nation is seeing a growing distrust in institutions and in marketing schemes. When you pretend to be someone that you're not, or when you're offering something that isn't real, people will notice and they're turned off. And this, I believe, has affected our churches dramatically. A recent Gallup poll shows that church membership has been fairly steady in our country since they began polling this data in the 1930s. Church membership was roughly 70%, give or take a few percents, until about 20 years ago. But then, once the 21st century began, it's as though church membership has gone off a cliff. Instead of being roughly 70%, in 2020, only 47% of Americans have been members of churches. And when you look at the chart, it seems as though the drop is accelerating every year. The Gallup people say that we see this decline in church membership in each generation, but it's most dramatic in the younger generations, that is, those people who were born after 1981. Now, there is lots of speculation about the reasons why church membership is declining. But I suspect that a sense of hypocrisy or a sense that churches are being fake is a large part of the decline. So if you want a church to grow, or at least not shrink, being honest, being authentic is a big part of the solution. A third reason, though, why I'm grateful to be in a church that is living authentically, that people recognize to be sincere, is that this is what God calls us to do. The second part of Romans chapter 12 is a beautiful recipe for how to live life. And it begins with a topic sentence. Do you remember those from English classes? If you're going to write a paragraph, the first sentence should tell you what it's all about. Well, this section begins by saying, love must be sincere. Another way to translate the Greek would be to say that love must be non-hypocritical. Don't try to fake love. Don't try to convince people that you're living a life of love when you really aren't. Because you can't pretend to be doing that. It won't take long for people to realize that it's just an act, and they'll write you off as a hypocrite. Not only that, but you damage their understanding of what love is in the process. And they may wonder if authentic, genuine love is even possible at all. But when you are sincere, when you're honest, when you're authentic, when you're non-hypocritical, even if it isn't what people expect or say that they want, they can tell the difference. And that sincere, non-hypocritical love becomes evident in many parts of your life. This is what Romans chapter 12 explains. We are able to do what it calls for us to do. After it says love must be sincere, it tells us to hate what is evil, cling to what is good, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. If you want to know what a sincere, authentic love looks like, that's the answer. Now, it is important to remember that we can only love sincerely. We can only be authentic people when it is God who is at work in us. And so, to be sincere, to be people who are real, we need to have the humility to seek the Lord, who not only teaches us how to love, but who is love itself. And as we seek the Lord, as we follow where he leads, then we truly can love authentically, non-hypocritically, and sincerely. Would you pray with me, please? Lord, it is so easy, and there are so many things in the world around us that tempt us to act different from who we are, to try to live up to expectations, to try to be who we're supposed to be, even if it's not who we really are. So work in us, Lord. Work in us so that we do not have to pretend to be loving people, but we actually can be. Teach us, Lord. Teach us how to be honest with ourselves, honest with you, and honest with one another as you continue to do your amazing work in each of our lives. Amen. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk again later.